This is a Wild Games Production podcast.
You remember.
Roll your stealth roll?
Game books, pencils, pizza, cheese puffs, and a hell of a lot of dice.
And the Dragon Ball Cup.
Roll for Initiative. This is the Roll for Initiative podcast, where 1E is the place to be.
It's the Roll for Initiative podcast. We're back with another episode. I am Vince, sitting alongside Matt.
Hello, everyone.
And Nick.
Hello, everybody.
A.K.A. Blackstone. I told everybody.
Breaking
damn,
kayfabe.
the cat's out of bag.
After 10 years, people
After
finally...
10 years. Has it been that long?
Yeah, it's been that long. We're in our 10th year.
10 years. We could have a big celebration.
Yeah.
No celebration.
And
it's not in the budget.
The reason we're revealing this is because we're cutting off your Blackstone check, Nick. You've been double dipping for too long, and we had to do something about it.
Hey, I learned everything I know about life from my congressman.
He's fired. Yes, we are back with another episode. We're broadcasting live from the Crystal Castle, and we're chucking stones this week.
Heck yeah, we are.
And so how you guys been? Nick, what have you been up to, buddy?
Oh, gaming-wise? Well,
Yeah.
let's see. Last time I talked about our Call of Cthulhu session, we just recently went back to Star Wars D6, West End Games version.
Mm-hmm.
Did that. So my friend Jeff running that campaign. We infiltrated the planet Abyss, or at least we were in the Abyss system, if you know your Star Wars lore. Abyss is like at the center of the galaxy. And we had to find some plans for basically like a black project. Find some gather information for our little contact in the Imperial Senate to show that the rest of the Imperial Senate that basically the Emperor is siphoning funds for black projects. Okay. So we get there and there's lots of stuff around this space station that they have there. There's an Imperial class Star Destroyer being built. Another new type that's like it's basically just a gunship, no TIE fighters, but it's just got like it's built to be like a gunship with a reinforced hull. The prototype for the Interdictor class, if you're familiar with that one.
Mm-hmm.
The one that brings you out of that's Star Trek.
Yeah.
Out of hyperspace, or prevents you from going into hyperspace. Because it's a gravity well generator. And a few other ships, like prototype fighters that were there, including, if you remember from like the Zahn series, the original Zahn series, the Skip Ray blast boat.
Okay.
And the prototype Super Star Destroyer. So we're like, oh, we're going to have to steal some plans and get the heck out of here. Well, that all being said, we stole 4 ships. We stole the Skip Ray blast boat, a 2 TIE fighter prototypes, the prototype for the TIE bomber, and the prototype for the TIE Grunt, and we stole it's a type of shuttle, but it's not like a prototype shuttle. We stole a shuttle, which you could park 2 spaceships in. It's almost like a mini carrier. So we took that, got the TIE fighters in there, and got the hell out of there.
Yeah.
And plus the Skip Ray blast boat, which was really cool. That was the one I really, really wanted to get, because you look up the stats on the Skip Ray blast boat, it has lots of weapons, and it's a starfighter class. It's just amazing. It's got like 3 or 4 ion cannons. Just with that whole bunch of proton torpedoes, laser cannon, all that jazz. So yeah, we made off with that, and so that was the our Star Wars session in, I think, late in April we're going to go back to Call of Cthulhu. So.
Oh, cool. And what about you, Mr. Matt?
Well, my group actually played the new Arkham Horror board game, the newest revision. That streamlined the rules a bit, and we enjoyed it. Got crushed thoroughly. The biggest changes from like the old ones I found is the setup's a lot quicker, and the board layout's actually modular. So, like your different city locations, you can actually position them in different ways depending on what scenario you're playing, as opposed to having like a static game board. So, if you like playing like the Arkham Horror board game, it's still got the same mechanics, but just in a much more streamlined way. So it doesn't take like 5-6 hours to finish a game. You can actually finish it in like 3. So I recommend it if you like that.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's about it for gaming wise.
Gaming wise for me, we are still in the middle of playing our D6 Star Wars. It's just started. We're on episode 7 or 8, and we're pretty much a bunch of recruits that just got recruited to the Jedi Academy, but along the way something happened, and we never actually made it there, so we're kind of in the middle of fighting pirates and things like that, while learning our Force abilities, and we found out the Padawan that was with us may be not a good person. She had a red lightsaber, we found out, so... We don't know what's going on.
That's not good.
Yeah, and she basically we ended it with she's like, "Oh, it's a long story. I'll tell you another time." So I don't know, but she got knocked out for a while we did our little mischief around town and tried to do this and that and kill the pirate captain and stuff like that.
Oh, that reminds me when we were at that space station.
Yep.
When we got on board, there was an Inquisitor on board. He got on one of his ships. He made a beeline for the ship where our Jedi was on, and we just blew his ship all the hell. We're just like, nope.
Well, this campaign takes place a month before Order 66, so the Republic is still a thing. It hasn't happened yet.
Sounds like our campaign a little.
Yeah. And I actually did use the red lightsaber once, but I didn't use it in a way that would get me a dark side point. I just turned it on and I intimidated someone with it, and basically insinuated I was a Sith Lord. But
uh-oh, careful now.
Yeah, I just said you wouldn't do that to a Sith Lord now, would you? I didn't say I was the Sith Lord. So I mean, yeah, it's kind of a gray Jedi area, but why not? I mean. I was still young. I'll be like, oh, I'm just a young Padawan, so...
I don't know what I'm doing.
Exactly. And we just wrapped up our 2-year-long Marvel game, so that's finally done.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And it ended with Galactus eating the Earth.
No, it ended with... Galactus eating the Earth, no. It ended with all the villains, which as our player characters, all going into hiding for the time being while we... kind of refresh from the campaign and play some other things. Like, we're going to be doing Star Trek soon, so...
Really?
Yeah.
Star Trek, huh?
Yeah, we're doing last unicorn games, Lug. So...
Okay, cool.
Yeah, should be fun. Anyway, moving along. So we got a star review that we need to cover this week, because we said we would always read the star reviews that we get, unless it was something that was really just, outrageous, but... But anyway, Nick, what star review do we have this week?
Oh, you want me to read it?
Yeah, please. Thank
you. This is from DM Zach. Gives us 2 stars. Says, almost unlistenable.
Oh, wow.
He says, hey guys, not sure if you got the memo, but it's 2019. Not 1998. And internet speeds are faster and disk space is more plentiful. Consider upping the bitrate of your audio files because they sound like crap. It is a noble gesture to cater to all those listeners with a dial-up connection, but seriously, get with the times. Thank you, DM Zach. May I like to reference this to our technical guru, if you will, or our producer, DM Matt. What do you have to say about that, Matt?
Well, the reasoning behind, like when you download like depending on who's recording, I know Vince records at a higher bit rate than I do, but I record and post at 64 kilobits a second, which you're like, oh, that's so small. Well, I record in mono, so that's 64 kilobits in mono. So if you get a MP3 that's 128 kilobits a second, that has the exact same sound quality as a 64 kilobit a second mono recording. Basically, because if you were to, say, put us into stereo, it would instantly double our bit rate and double our size, and you would have the exact same sound quality because we're not panning from left to right. We don't really need that type of depth. And also with a voice podcast, is it really necessary to have a higher bit rate to have the sweet dulcet tones of our voice?
Would you like to listen to our sweet sounds of my voice?
Now, maybe if we could resurrect Barry White
baby,
and have him on our show, then we would need that range and that depth, perhaps, to get that full richness. But we don't. And so I just like, is it really necessary, or is it just you throw out a higher bit rate? Look how good quality we got, but it's overkill for nothing.
And as far as I know, this is the only real negative comment we've ever had about sound quality for our show. Is that correct?
it is the only comment we've ever gotten about audio quality on here. Yeah, there were some shows that we had some bad quality as far as we had guests on the show. There's nothing I can do about that Skype-wise. I mean, if they have bad audio, they have bad audio.
Yeah.
Right, yes. Skype was like our bane of existence for the longest time because if it works, it's great. But if it doesn't work, oh my, it's a bit of adventure.
Sound a little bit George Takei there, like, oh my.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Oh my.
I went back and I listened to some of our older episodes from 10 years ago on my phone after I saw that review, and the audio quality was fine. I mean, it's on a phone. Most people listen to these on iPod, well, not iPods anymore, but iPhone, Android phone. Not many people will sit there at their computer and listen to it. Maybe some do, and you do, that's great, but the quality that I'm recording at is practically, like Matt said, what'd you say your quality was at? 60-something? 90-something?
Yeah, 64 kilobits mono.
I'm doing like almost 200 to 300, depending on the recording of the podcast. So I'm doing in high-quality studio setting. So if the person who heard this thinks that the audio was that low of bitrate, he probably got a bad download. That's probably what it was.
Right.
And I want DM Zach to listen real closely right now. Just listen real closely. Listen to my voice. Nice sound quality right there. You can hear it, baby. Listen to me right now.
Okay,
Zach.
Nick.
It's you, buddy.
Okay. Anyway, this is probably, unfortunately, a backlash from the episode that I did with Eric Tankar on the Tavern Chat, where I had quoted and said that there's a lot of shitty podcasts out there on Anchor, and I said that Anchor has sent us back about 10 years, which is kind of like how this guy's referencing things. So he probably took offense in that because probably his audio quality sucks on his, but whatever. I didn't name anybody purposely. I was just saying in general, there are a lot out there where it sounds like people are in their fucking car or the microphone's stuck up their ass and they're pulling it out their mouth while talking.
Hey, I've done a podcast in my car before.
Well, yours was at least clear enough to hear it. Some of these people are just like in their car, it's like so
it's like they're reporting on the Hindenburg, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, and I don't listen. My choice is not to listen to them. If someone else can tolerate it, that's awesome, dude. You keep listening. But I have an ear for audio, and I don't like that. There are lots of podcasts I don't listen to because of really bad audio. And I don't say anything. I just go, well, I don't like the audio. Next. And I just leave it at that. I don't go out there and, 2 stars, 1 star. This guy sucks because his audio sucks. I don't care. That's your production.
Yeah,
you like it, your audience likes it, I don't care.
Yeah, because like you said, maybe Zach here just got like a bad download. You know, maybe he had a bad feed. Maybe he just had a bad day. Who knows?
I don't know, but we're spending way too much time on this. Thank you for your feedback, Zach. We appreciate it. We'll make sure our bit rate is not 1998 and it's 2019.
Right.
So
Yep,
maybe
eat a
we
second,
should
Dix.
do
Thank you.
a uncompressed FLAC release of our podcast.
maybe we should bring back the AAC podcast that we used to have, our alternate feed.
Yeah, so that way no one can play it because no
Yes.
one does that anymore.
We could do our chaptering again that Jason used to do. Remember?
Maybe we should use
Oh.
tin cans and wire.
No, that's called Blog Talk Radio.
Oh, okay.
Ugh, blog talk, yeah.
Yes, that's painful to listen to.
Some of them are, but at least people are trying, and yeah.
Right. I give them
Evs.
props for effort. It's an easy way to get your show out, but Blog Talk, the audio quality is horrendous. It's tin can and string.
All right. Well, let's not bash Blog Talk. They try on Blog Talk, so. And I didn't want to, Anchor has its great, wonderful ability to record on the fly, but some people are just using it the wrong way and need to. I don't know why people just don't record on their computer and upload it, but I guess they're out on the road and they have an idea they want to record it. I understand. There's also something called buying a microphone.
Also, the
for your
whole
phone.
thing is we're live.
Because we're cool and edgy, man.
Right. It's like streaming. Yeah, the live stream but it's in audio form.
But anyway, if you want to do that on with Anchor on your phone, that's great. There's something, just pop on Amazon, buy one of those little cheap microphones for like $20, and it'll make your podcast audio that much better. Enough of this bullshit. On to the
Maybe
show.
we need a special insert on how to actually podcast.
No, I'm not going to do that.
No.
That used to be the thing in the whole.
They could go to frickin' YouTube and find that shit.
There's plenty of YouTube videos how to podcast, but I don't need to do that.
But they're all poor audio quality.
Nick,
Sorry.
you're fired. Go home.
Damn it!
On to the topic of the show. This week we're going to talk a little bit about racial level limits and the way it is imposed in the game. How Gary Gygax wanted the limits in there because he was pushing as the DM guide has said on page 21, Advanced Dungeons & Dragons is unquestionably a human-centric game, with demi-humans, semi-humans, and humanoids in various orbits around the sun of humanity. So basically the game is the sun is the humanity, and everything else is little planets revolving around and going, I want attention, Daddy! So that's...
Shut up!
Didn't you also have an article from Dragon Magazine, number 29, Nick, that you had looked up?
Yes, that is true. It's going back into the Wayback Machine. From the Sorcerer's Scroll, issue number 29. That was back in September of, 1979. And this is a section where he also brought up about the half ogre. He brought up the half ogre race as well. It was later in the article. It's a little one-page thing about the ideas, the reasoning of racial class and level limits for them. And there's a key paragraph right here. If you'll let me indulge me here, I shall read it. And quote, the character races in AD&D were selected with care. They give variety of approach, but any player selecting a non-human, part or demi-human character does not have any real advantage. Mm-hmm. True, some of these racial types give short-term advantages to the players who choose them, but in the long run, the same character are at an equal disadvantage when compared to human characters with the same number of experience points. This was in fact designed into the game. The variety of approach makes role selection more interesting. Player, character, race, players must weigh advantages and disadvantage carefully before opting for a character, race, human, or otherwise. It is in vogue in some campaigns to remove restrictions on demi-humans. So let me stop right there. That little sentence, even back then, people were dropping level limits for non-human characters.
Yeah.
Or at least to relax them to somewhat. While this might make the DM popular for a time with those participants with dwarven fighters of high level or elven wizards of vast power, it will eventually consign the campaign as a whole to one in which only races will be non-human. Dwarves, elves, etc. will have all the advantage all the advantages and no real disadvantages. So the majority of players will select these races, and humankind will disappear from the realm of player character types. This bears upon various hybrid racial types as well. So basically, he's saying there is because he in a nutshell, he's saying because of the special the races, dwarves, elves, gnomes, halflings, etc., because they have special abilities in themselves, those races.
Mm-hmm.
The counter that we put basically class and level limits on those races to balance out where humans in themselves as a race have no real advantage. Makes sense. I could see that. And thus not having players having a campaign where it's either all or the majority of the races are demi-human races. I understand that. So in a roundabout sort of way, he made the human race, its benefit, its special ability is unlimited class and level progression. So that's how I kind of read it.
Yeah, it's like if you were to take like the power level of a character and plot them out on graphs over the course of their levels, the demi-humans start higher, but as it goes through up higher in levels, that gap gets smaller and smaller, and eventually, once they hit that level cap, the human power level keeps growing, whereas the demi-human plateaus with maybe slight incremental increases due to, like, you still get your hit points and that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Right. And even later on with Unearthed Arcana, there was kind of an addendum to that, because there was a chart, or a table, I should say, with all the races and which classes are allowed and what level limits are. There was even a slight, I think you pointed out, Matt, Vince,
Mm-hmm.
to me earlier, that there was a slight, like, loosening up the rules in that case.
Yeah, there was.
And I think it was because if you made certain your prerequisite, your ability score for that class was higher than a certain amount, you could be up to, I think, 2 level higher, or if you were
higher.
just single class, if you're a single class, not multi-class, because that's another special ability of demi-human characters, is they can multi-class.
Right. But then that's also another way it slows down their advancement as well.
Mm-hmm. That's why I think in Unearthed Arcana, if they're single class demi-humans, they can go up to 2 level higher as indicated in the book. Which, I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. Okay, I could dig that. But even then, remember, this article was September 1979, so AD&D barely got out in the market, I think. I think the Player's Handbook and the DMG were just came out. So, in a matter of months of each other.
Yeah, the monster manual itself was out before both of them, so...
Yeah, so you had the monster manual, and I think 6 months from that was the Player's Handbook, and then 6 months from there, roughly, was the DMG. So, I think the DMG was just the last one that came out before this article, and and as a whole, even then, real early on, you had people that were quipping and house ruling level and class limits for demi-humans.
Min-maxers are going to min-max, and that's one of the few ways you can in this game, is get those racial bonuses, and then, just wave this one little cap here, and then next thing you know, hey, I'm going to be more powerful than a human, and there's no reason to ever play one. But the thing with that is, when you look at how everything is set up, everything was basically balanced in a way to give you an incentive to play every race. If you want that early boost, you can pick one of the other demi-human classes. If you're playing a longer game, you want to be a human. Because if you were to actually go by the way XP is handed out in the DMG, how many characters will actually hit that level cap?
Oh, I know people that have been playing for years, and they only decades too, only made it to level 9. So
Exactly. If you were doing everything by the book, you would never hit those caps anyway.
Yeah,
So at
and
that
even-
point, people are handing out XP a little more freely
right.
to speed up the advancement. At which point, that's when the cap becomes necessary. Because
Yeah,
if you're
and
going by the book, realistically, you're probably not going to hit the level cap. Just period.
Right.
You're not going to hit it, especially if you multi-class. You multi-class, good luck hitting a level cap.
I think it's very rare most campaigns would get to that point, depending on what type of race and class that you play. Even for regular human characters, I would say it's not common for even to make name level.
Right.
Yeah. I guess what there was how far does it actually be called wizard, and what level do you have to make to actually be called wizard for a magic user class? I think it's like 9 or 10.
Oh, you're
Something
asking.
like
I
that.
thought you were making a point. I'm sorry.
But yeah, that and the point is like most, if you want to reach that point, even then most
11th.
campaigns kind of start to wrap up.
11th or actually 12th levels when you're the wizard by 12th level name.
Yeah, there you go.
And you wouldn't get mage until you were 16th level and archmage at 18th level.
Right.
Yeah, there you go.
And it also, having the level cap, solves this other problem with just world building in general. How come the demi-human don't dominate like the human races? Because they live so much longer than a human. They would have more time to develop and grow and level. At that point, if you have an elf that's living 200-300 years, accumulating XP without a level cap, the elven races or the dwarven races or any demi-human race are going to be such, just on average, higher than the human race that the humans in the world itself would just be a non-issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would be probably would be subservient to all the other races.
Right. They would be like goblins.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically.
Yeah, realistically, yeah, absolutely. I think someone pointed that out too. It's like, look how long-lived all the demi-human races are. Even halflings live longer than humans.
Right.
So, but taken to the other extreme, you have elves, which can theoretically live tens of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, if not thousands.
Right.
If you look at the actual
but
larger scale of it,
they
I
do
mean, if
stop
there were
adventuring after a certain point, don't forget.
right. But even then,
They're
they're still going to be doing things.
They can still get experience. How do you know they're
Sure.
not just sitting in their shop and they're the ones cranking out all the magic items in the world that we went over? It takes for years to make.
Right.
Actually, that does solve an issue, though. With
What?
why are there so many magic items? There's those retired elves just cranking stuff out on the black market.
Those Keebler elves really keep busy. And what race? And what's their alignment? Uncommonly good.
Right.
Oh gosh. Nick.
But so, with that being said, with all the race limits on class and level, as far as handling in a campaign, do you go by the book,
Yeah.
or do you do something? You go by the book. Vince?
No, I'm saying, I was agreeing with you. Basically, the question comes up here: do you abide by the rules, or do you hand wave things and allow things to go as you please? Because don't forget, with the racial limits that were set, there was also class limits set too. That certain races couldn't play certain classes, which did loosen up a little bit in Unearthed Arcana when he did the rules there too. So,
Yes.
do you play by the book like that, or do you just wave your hand and go meh and just let people play what they want to play? I'm going to start by saying, generally in the past, I was very much for meh, just let people play what they want to play, but then might have a campaign with no humans whatsoever, because what's the point? And I personally play humans a lot, and He'll be like, well, why are you playing human? You're human in real life. Because I don't want to be a fucking dwarf or an elf.
Yeah.
I want to be a human. That's what I, want to be. I don't care. I don't question you being an elf or a dwarf or a gnome, dude, right?
Right. Never trips your trigger.
Yeah.
So that was before. Now, how do you look at it?
Now I'm more in the camp of I want people to play humans more often, so I give more advantages to humans in my game all the time. I will give them more stuff to start with. I will. I also do waive the level limits. I don't really think that is fair whatsoever, but I also give humans advantages on things.
I was kind of going to say the same thing, too. As far as like giving humans advantage, I did that. Yeah, my approach, even for the beginning, let me back up. My approach from the beginning of it was more or less by the book, I guess, and that's counting the stuff from Unearth.
Unearthed Arcana, yeah.
Yeah, with the Unearthed Arcana stuff. With that being said, I think over time what I thought is like, I could probably relax the level limits, right? Now, as far as class limits, I'm still restricting their to what class certain races can play.
Oh, I'll jump in here and say I would still restrict the classes, but the one thing I let up on was the whole dwarven cleric thing.
Yeah.
Because dwarven clerics should seem natural. I mean, they just feel natural to me,
right.
So I allowed that.
Yeah, I never understood that either. But with that being said, I also like, well, if I'm going to relax the level limits for demi-human races, what am I going to do to make humans a little more enticing? And I went the route that I think you went, is like, maybe give humans some sort of racial bonuses of some sort. I incorporated that into years ago when I was planning my World of Greyhawk campaign. We were going to do first edition AD&D. I thought, okay, let's look at the different, races of humans in World of Greyhawk, and based off of that, maybe we can come up with some racial bonuses depending on where you originated as a human. Maybe you get like a bonus for like a certain type of weapon. Maybe you get a +1 to your intelligence when you create your character or something like that. So I came up with a set of rules in-house to make that appealing if you wanted to play a human. So I set about creating those sort of things, basically like maybe racial bonuses with certain weapons, or a racial bonus when creating your character. You get a +1 added to your intelligence or your strength or something like that.
I did mine a lot based upon Legends of the Five Rings role-playing game. Mm-hmm. You know how they have different clans in there, and each clan has its own upbringing. And I think they kind of incorporated this into like second edition with the optional rules. And so I'm not really that familiar with second edition, but I vaguely remember them doing some type of optional rules with humans. I'm not really, again, a second edition person, so nothing wrong with second edition. I just don't play it. But I did incorporate it that way by giving them, if they were raised a certain way, like you said, in the mountains, they would get an advantage like that, as if they were dwarven kind of advantage. Not a major advantage, just a little edge. Mm-hmm. Right. They would also have background skills and things like that would help them out through the adventure. I've also done times where the humans would start a level higher than everybody else because I wanted them to have a little more advantage. And obviously, maybe that's not fair and everybody thinks that's dumb or whatever, but it's my game, my rules. I'll do what I want, and I want to encourage more human players in the game. So, what about you, Matt? You've been awfully silent there, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, mostly because I'm more by the book when it comes to that. I know with the games I run, they're not going to go long enough for those level limits to matter. So I'll leave them. Why change them? I know you're never going to hit it.
So you're the new Jason.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm very much by the book because during the course of the game, I'm so free willy about how things get handed out and magic items.
Beautiful.
Exactly. I will during the course of the game gladly give extra bonuses for role playing or situations that happen or whatever. You're going to get them through playing the game, not just starting out existing. So I don't feel the need to do that because that way the bonuses develop more organically and are more custom to that specific character. It's like when it comes to the class restrictions and that sort of stuff, though, I'm very much like if a player would like to play it, give me a good reason. What's your backstory? Why are you the unicorn that exists when no one else does? And if it's good, we'll run with it because that'll be something I can work with as part of the game.
No, I'm going to have to step in and absolutely disagree with you on that type of situation. I'm not letting someone play a friggin' unicorn.
No, the unicorn as in unique, one of a kind, not as a literal unicorn.
You took him literally. I even knew he was like being sarcastic and like.
Oh, okay. I actually took it literal because that's.
Oh my god.
Because that's
yes. Well, let me tell you about my new all unicorn campaign here. We're going historical with nothing but unicorn.
Oh my god, it's bromy stuff.
Why I thought that is because the mindset that I have right now after playing 5e for the past year is that shit is allowed. So
what?
Well, yeah, you could pretty much with the Volo's guide and things like that, you could pretty much come out with a monster that has two heads that farts as his ability. So why not? As long as you have a good backstory.
Yeah, I can get on board with that kind of character.
And then especially if you go into the DM's Guild as well, you can find all sorts of wacky stuff. If you want to play a Ninja Turtle, you can play a Ninja Turtle.
Yes, you can. There is a Ninja Turtle race that you can play.
So I found my notes on what I did for my version of Greyhawk, right?
Oh, okay, cool. What is it? Yeah.
So like human racial modifiers, you have the 4 different races. They have the Backloonish, the Flan, the Iridians, and the Sul. So if you were a Backloonish background, you got a +1 to your dex when creating your character. Mm-hmm. The Flan +1 to your con. Iridians got +1 to their intelligence and wisdom, and Sul +1 to their strength. So you got a +1 added to your die roll for that particular ability score when you create a character.
You said it wrong, Nick.
Okay.
You said it wrong.
What was it?
You have to say
You
have to say +1 to your con. That's why. Sorry.
Okay, moving on. Thanks for that. I didn't need that. Schmuck. And also maybe some different bonuses for your whatever nation that you came from. So like if you came from the let's say you came from the Grand Duchy of Geoff, you can pick. You have a +1 to hit with a lance. Pick one type of lance. A type of bow, and a pike of one type. And it's a +1 to hit. So, like if you wanted you pick like a short lance, and maybe a short bow, and then you also have pike. If you use any of those types of weapons, a short lance, a short bow, and a pike, you get a +1 to hit with it. Not to damage, but to hit.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, because you're probably trained in it all your life with it, things like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get it. That's a good idea.
And so on, and I did that with all the different nations, like Keelland. You get a +1 to hit with a javelin, +1 with crossbow, lance, any type of polearm and spear. So, I kind of went along with that, and I thought that makes it a little more interesting if you want to play a human. And when I remember when I kind of sprung this on everyone, I was like, okay, you're from the Kingdom of Nairon. Well, you get a +1 bonus with a sword of one type that you pick, a flail or a mace. Pick one type, a polearm, a bow, or a crossbow. And they're like, oh, really? Oh, I want to play a human too. It was kind of going along the idea of, how the elves and half elves have a +1 to hit with long swords and short swords. Same thing, I think, with dwarves too. They get a bonus. For to hit with I think don't they get a bonus to hit with battle axes or mace or
who
I
warhammers?
don't think dwarves do.
Well, I thought they did.
They might. I rarely play dwarves, so
no, I don't recall that. But go on. We'll look it
Yeah.
up.
But it was kind of going along that thought.
Right. Yeah, it sounds very similar to like the backgrounds in later editions, where they have something like that, where you pick a background that could be like a profession or locate, or
Well,
like where you're
yeah.
from, and you get some bonuses. It's very similar to that.
Yeah, if you remember in the glossography of the not the Fiend Folio, but the World of Greyhawk Folio set,
Mhm.
and the box set, there's the glossography has a table you can roll and see where either your demi-human or your human characters originate.
Right.
So you have that going, and then you just go, oh, okay, you're from here. This is what bonuses you get to the certain weapons that you have learned.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and that also helps just flesh out the background of the character as well, because now they know where they're from. They can have an idea of why they are the character they are. So it's also like a role playing tool as well.
and some people say, well, what if they're playing a magic user and they're from the Grand Duchy of Jeff and they ain't no Lance, Bow, and Pike? Well, yeah. They weren't magic users their whole lives.
Right.
They were probably part of the militia.
Yeah.
That's why they know these things.
And then they realized they were really squishy and went to hit the books.
Exactly. Same thing with clerics, but I also go the route we've debated for 10 years. I allow my clerics to use edged weapons if it is allowed by their god.
No. And I looked in the Unearthed Arcana and Player's Handbook. I didn't see anything about referencing dwarves in the weapon bonus.
Okay.
I mean, I just was listening to you while trying to read. I didn't see anything. There are some special abilities that different dwarven sub-races get in the Unearthed Arcana, depending on gray, things like that. But nothing as far as what you had mentioned.
Well, imagine if you pick the Duger. You know,
Duger.
is that the dwarf that can turn itself like into a giant?
It had some abilities.
Those are the ones, the Dugers, aren't those the ones from Dragonlance?
No, they're in the
No.
Unearthed Arcana.
Okay.
And what if you're like, if you want to play a gnome, one of the gnome races you could play was it the Nerf Neblin? The deep gnomes. Yes, it's pronounced Nerf Neblin.
Nerf Neblet.
Nerf Neblin. Deep gnomes. They can like summon or control earth elementals.
They don't have actually the Druger don't have anything special at all. But
Really?
they don't gain any other dwarfs combat advantage when fighting half
Oh, okay.
orcs,
I
goblins.
thought they did.
No, not on Unearthed Arcana at least. They have everything else but that bonus to hit against those certain weapons because they have no animosity against anybody. So they're just damn cool.
I think I might have incorporated some of the stuff where I like, gnomes get a +1 to hit with a pickaxe. And, dwarves get a +1 to hit with battle axes and warhammers.
So making crap up like the bladed weapon, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I have. I'm sorry. Is that not like fit into your like worldview?
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't?
I think
Well, suck it.
we've been arguing that. Oh, you DX'd me. We've been we've been arguing that for
Down where?
10 years. He just
Yes, we have.
was that a Triple H or a Shawn Michaels? Matt, which one was that one? I don't know, whatever.
X-Pac?
Oh, that's real low.
Ooh.
That's real low. No, I as we said, no, they don't use bladed weapons at all, ever. So I'll stick to my
In your
guns.
game world, that's fine.
10 years, I'll stick to my guns.
And that's fine. That's fine in your game world. Remember, it's like, the rule. It's like the Pirates Code with stuff because it's more guidelines than rules. The DM could do whatever he wants. Rule 0. It's
No,
the DM's world.
you're
They can do
wrong.
whatever the hell he
The
wants.
DMG is my book. I wrote it. It's my book, my baby. I say no.
But that's okay because I'm going to give free health care to all of my character classes. That's what I'm going to do.
God.
A healing potion in every
Healing
pot?
potion in every pot.
God.
And for all the wizards out there, they're going to get free college
You sound
when
more
they go
like
to the wizard school.
you sound like more like the garbage man from Brooklyn than who you're trying to imitate. So
Well, that's how he sounds like. A garbage man
You're
from
gonna
Brooklyn.
Provide subsidies for their spell items.
That's exactly right.
Okay, their spell component subsidies.
That'll be tremendous,
All right.
and everybody will be happy.
Your ideas will die. I'm going to win again. Go away.
You go to hell.
Moving along.
Moving along.
I was about to say you go to 4th edition.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Matt's really poking in the little jabs here. He's like that little guy with the jabs, man. He comes up behind the big guy, smacks you, and goes, "It was the big guy." You know, he's doing one of those things.
Hey, I listened to that Orton AJ promo at SmackDown last night. I mean, hey, that's all that was.
And I'm sure 90% of the audience is going to go, "What the hell is Matt talking about?" So,
The fuck?
pretty much. All right, well, level limits in the campaign is pretty much by your discretion. Like Nick and I had argued about.
Clerics using edge weapons too. God
You
damn it!
didn't let me finish, sir. As I was saying, Nick and I have argued for the past 10 years about. Wow, has it really been 10 years we'd argue this stupid thing?
Yeah, we started the same stupid shit.
Yeah. 10
We
years.
are grognards.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever. So yeah, like your campaign, your world, your rules, your story, the way you run it is the way you run it with your. As long as you and your group are having fun with the rules that you're putting in place and nobody's complaining,
And you're consistent.
yeah, and you're consistent with your rulings, then it should be a good time. If there's someone complaining and making you run the game the way they want, then that person doesn't need to be part of your group. Unless they want to run the game. Because when there are people that come into my game and they're like, well, I don't run my game like that, then I said, then you run the game. And then, no, I don't run games anymore. Then shut up and just play or leave. That's your options. Shut up, play, and leave. And
Shoot
generally
the
those
goddamn
people,
pie hole or whatever.
generally those people play or they leave. And I give them the option. I don't like people that come to the table and impose their rules on another DM. Even if I'm a player in another game and someone walks up to a game and says, well, according to the book, it's just like, no, dude, it's his game. If he wants to change it around, let him change
Where
it
did
around.
that whole idea come from anyway?
What? Looking in the book?
You know, the whole idea, like someone coming to the table and imposing what they think the rules should be on the DM. Where the hell did that thought come from?
That's been going on for years and years. I mean, it's been as far back as probably our edition and maybe even classic edition and probably even wargaming as far as we know.
Well, that's funny thing is that to me that's just rude.
Yeah.
It is
I mean,
rude.
you come to the table as a player, and you should respect the rules that the DM has laid out for his game world, unless it's something outrageously off the deep end. I mean,
I think a lot of it came with the more mainstream edition and probably younger kids not understanding that, you need to respect the rules. So that's the only thing I can think of, because I've never had a problem with my 1E games except for one or two people over the years, but they were also younger players coming into the OSR type scene. And I just dealt with them the same way. Listen, this is the rules I've laid out. We can discuss it on the side, and we'll come to a compromise. If you don't like it, then you just don't have to play, or you can run the game, and I would gladly hand the books over to you to run, and I'll play under your rules. So,
Yeah, I think as like organized play became more of a thing, and having a codified, consistent gaming experience, no matter what table you're playing at, I think that came out more. Because it's kind of like people are expecting their RPG table to be like a fast food restaurant. No matter where you go, it's going to be the same.
well, that kind of happened with, I think, after post 2000 when they started standardizing the rules, like you said, and with the whole Adventure League and what did they call it in 3? Was it still RPGA or was it Living Campaign then?
Both.
Okay.
It was the RPGA ran the Living Campaign.
morphed into Living Greyhawk, yeah.
Right, and everything was standardized, but you have to understand, if you go to somebody's house, there's always going to be some type. Well, maybe I guess people didn't have the experience.
Everybody had house rules. Everybody did, and you respected them.
We've had entire editions made off of house rules.
Yeah. Palladium system was essentially D&D house ruled.
I mean, I just think that the later editions are so fine-tuned to play, like you said, Matt, a fast food restaurant style game that people walk into the game thinking, okay, we're playing 5e, we're going to be playing by the book. And then you get slapped with this, a DM that's not from 5e coming into 5e from past editions saying, well, these are the following rules. I've made adjustments to the game, and you're a new player, and you're like, whoa, what? That's not how the book works.
If you read like 5e, it tells you it's okay to make changes and adjustments and pick and choose what you use. It's built in, but the thing is, people have a certain idea of what a gaming experience is to them, and that's what they go out to seek and look for. And when they expect it and don't get it, they're like, what's going on? Why is it not what I want? And then also some of it is just because they're trying to power game and they want to be the star of the show. And by having everything this way, they're going to be the star.
That's me.
Yes, you and your edged clerics.
This is my 18th level cleric name, Xandathar.
Running around with a giant greatsword?
No, just a great sword, not a giant great sword. You can get it from a giant.
Yet.
Well, anyway, racial level limits. Do you play with them in your game? Do you waive them? Do you have house rules? What do you do? Let us know. rfistaff@gmail.com. Go to facebook.com/RFI podcast, and you can send us a message, leave a comment there, or head over to Twitter for our RFI podcast is our handle, I believe. I don't know at this point. I don't really use the RFI Twitter. It just auto-tweets the show at this point. That's all it really does. Tweet. I have my own personal account with my own personal opinions, and those are those. So they just don't reflect upon the show. So though you can hold me accountable, I guess, if you really want. That's your decision. And Matt doesn't ever say a peep, so I just think he has an empty account.
They say fucking if they can't take a joke.
Well, what are you going to say?
Yeah.
So with that said, head over to patreon.com/WGP if you want to help sponsor the network. For as little as $1 a month, you can get some access to things like the classic Face Rip show, and if you get That Goes Hammer early and some other stuff and whatever. And you get a shout out on my YouTube videos. Go over to youtube.com/c/theevildm. You can listen to my Idols and Ifritis 1E series along with my Ghostbusters series that I'm doing on there as well, talking about West End Games Ghostbusters. Nice. So, with that said, we're going to say keep it original, keep it old school, and good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Roll for initiative.